Hey, Husker fans, Sam McEwen along with Jimmy Watkins. We are here after practice, Nebraska football practice, spring practice here on a Monday. Eric Chenander, the defensive coordinator, talked, as did defensive line coach Mike Dawson, as did a bunch of defensive backs. And we'll start there with Jimmy. You talked to Braxton Clark, a couple of other guys. I think you might have been over with Gifford as well. That particular group seems to have a lot of bodies and a lot of competition, and it seems like there's some positivity in that defensive back group. What did Braxton Clark have to say?
Well, it's the standard party line about they're competing, but they're competing with their brothers. So I don't know that they're going to tell us a ton about the burning competition that's going on within that room, but Braxton Clark mentioned a few names that he found as interesting so far. Tommy Hill, the Arizona State transfer, who coincidentally Braxton Clark played against in high school. They were both Orlando area kids. The rundown on their matchup was that they did match up as receiver and corner because they both played both ways, but apparently Tommy Hill's team was a run-first team, so nothing too much there. But Braxton Clark specifically is someone to watch this spring. He's been in the program for a while now. He was, by his own words, playing with the ones to start his junior season. Then he separated his shoulder. He said it kept him out for 6 months, and now he's working his way back. He had a shoulder injury during his redshirt freshman season as well. It's both shoulders that he's been working with. It's something that he's had to rehab twice now. He says it makes him feel more grateful, all the rest of it, and he had a lot of help from Deontay Williams along the way, the former Nebraska safety, who of course also dealt with shoulder injuries during his time in Nebraska. I still think it's a question mark in the defensive back room. We're not going to know necessarily what's going on there until we see the bodies on the field.
Quentin Newsome at that one corner spot, then opposite that, Clark and Tommy Hill competing at that other corner spot. I think you're going to hear some other names as time goes on. The safety to me is a bigger question mark. Miles Farmer talked a little bit up here today, but I still think Miles Farmer needs to get better as a player. And then who goes beside him if he's the starter? Is that Marquise Buford? Is that Deshaun Singleton? Is that Javier Morton? Is that going to be Noah Poole-Gates? I mean, I think they've got real question marks at that safety spot. And again, within the construct of any defense, your safeties are really, really important because they're the guys that have to come down on run support, and I think they've probably got to get better there. I think one of the reasons that defensive coordinator Eric Chenander said that Nebraska's got to tackle better, which is one of the things that he said today, is because they've got to get better at the second and third levels of the defense at making those kind of plays, especially when guys are banged up like your inside linebackers, Nick Henrich and Luke Reimer. Let's go down to the defensive line for a second. Mike Dawson talked a little bit today, pulled his head up, and he said, I used to have hair before spring camp. Of course, he was joking, but the defensive line is a true work in progress. You have one healthy guy that started last year, that being Ty Robinson. You got another guy that's banged up in Casey Rogers, who, played at times last year when he played through injuries, but he's kind of the other guy. Then the third guy is Colton Feast, who is a walk-on, who also was banged up last year, and then everything else is really, really young. And that's the process that they're working through right now. Nash Hutmaker is kind of your true nose. We thought we might get him up here today, but he did not come up and talk. His strength numbers in terms of, squat, bench press, and, jerk, clean are really, really good. They're off the charts, according to Mike Dawson. But he's got to translate those things to football moves. In other words, you got to do all three of those things on many of the plays that you're in when you're a defensive lineman, and Hutmaker is still making that journey to transitioning all those things out. The other thing that he's trying to work on is just being able to make athletic plays. In order, you're not just holding up the line of scrimmage, but you're also going and making a play. I think that was true of Jalen Weaver, Ruquan Buckley, Marquise Black, and Mosai Newsome, who did come up here. And I think one of the things that Dawson said about Newsome is he's still learning how to play the run in the Big Ten because he had done a lot of out-athleting the guys that he was against in high school, just kind of running around them or shooting gaps. That doesn't work in the Big Ten, where there's 365-pound offensive tackles. You don't just run around people. They will shove you down if you think you're going to try to run around them. And so you have to learn how to play square to the line of scrimmage, get your nose, your face mask to face mask, and push those guys back. Now, it's interesting with Newsome. He's gained about 40 pounds of muscle since he's gotten here. He's about 298 right now. He came in at 260, maybe 255. So the work is being done in the weight room. But the question is, can Dawson get those guys up to speed really, really quickly? Boy, they need to, because if they can't hold Big Ten offensive lines and they can't sort of hold the line there, it's going to be really hard to stop the run of the league.
The other thing I would mention with the defensive line and the outside linebackers is that Jamari Butler was up today as well, and he was talking about just all the different positions that they are starting in as outside linebackers, hand in the dirt, playing standing up against the tackle, and also dropping back into coverage. There's going to be a lot to be asked of these outside linebackers this year.
Yeah, they got two that they feel real good about Garrett Nelson and Caleb Tanner. So we know those two. The two behind them are Blaise Gunnerson and Jamari Butler. And, boy, you need four. It's not easy to do this thing with two. You need more guys, especially if one of those two starters gets banged up. I know they would love to see Gunnerson and Butler emerge. They have a lot of young defensive recruits from the 2019 and 2020 classes. It's their time. They don't have another year. The urgency is there, and these guys who have been recruited in the 19 and the 20 classes have to play right now. And that's Gunnerson, that's Butler, that's Black, that's Masai Newsome. That's a lot of these guys that we've been talking about, and we'll see. We'll just have to see if these guys are ready to rock and roll. They still have 3 months left. We'll see a little bit in spring. I know it hasn't been going great, I think, for that defensive line, but they're going to keep working on it. All right, for Jimmy, I'm Sam. This is the Omaha World-Herald. Thanks, Husker fans.